Typical.
Hi, welcome to Frazzi, Greenlight and Yoy and the Millennial debate. Simon Sinek, just a second, look at them, they want to come in straight away, they don't let anyone, impatient, I think Simon was one of the things that Simon Sinek accused millennials of being earlier this month on an interview on, what was it called? Inside Quest. This sparked a bit of outrage on the internet amongst millennials and indeed other people. And so we as a company, a couple of companies with a number of millennials within them, decided that we should sit down and air some of the views around a range of topics that Mr. Sinek chose to expose. You can ask questions too. Thank you for joining us, by the way, both of you. Hi, Grant. It's really kind of you to be here. Please send a comment or something like that in, and this Generation Xer will ask a millennial to help him how to work that particular technology. Now, before we start, I'd just like to throw a couple of themes in, because what I'm very conscious of is the tit for tat. When someone raises an issue, a bunch of people feel quite defensive about it, and I'd rather we didn't descend into that tit for tat defensive arena. So there are a couple of themes that I'd request our panel of lovely people here to consider when discussing things, and also our audience as well. And those are we talking about generation-specific concerns, or are we actually talking about human ones? I think that's an interesting point. And secondly, what is the real quality of our relationships today? And how have these been, or are these, affected by some of the issues that Simon Sinek raises? Okay, I'm conscious that no one's got much time these days. We're all impatient, instant gratification. We need to move on to the next and more exciting and interesting thing on the internet. So, the first question for our panel, and indeed for our audience, please send in questions. Simon said that the boomer, the Generation X view of millennials is that they're entitled, a word I've heard a lot over the last few months, and I suspect you guys have as well. Self-interested. They want immediate gratification but are unfocused in what that is. They also want to make an impact, do work that has a sense of purpose. Well, I'm a generational Xer and I want all of those things as well. So I'm intrigued by this particular question, and I suspect there's some baby boomers out there too who want a sense of purpose and want to be making an impact in the world. So my question is, do you think these ideas are specific to millennials? And if so, why? Who wants to start?
I can talk a little bit. So I do think that because of the changing nature of work, with today you don't get a job and keep it your entire career. I think about my grandfather being a pilot for Delta and being taken care of by the company every step of the way, staying with that company until retirement, having a pension, all that. We don't get that anymore from our work, and so I think because we're trading off that stability, in return we want work that has a lot of meaning for us, and we think that we want work that we love because we know that it's not providing that stability, it's providing that sense of meaning. So I think kind of what we're looking for in work is a little different.
So do you think the stability has gone out of the modern workplace, that we've moved away from long careers and pensions at the end of them completely?
Well, we have. I mean, I worked in compensation, and pensions are a thing of the past. We don't do pensions. We do matching contributions to retirement funds, but not, people who are coming into firms aren't getting pensions. Even the big firms, the big behemoths, they're not offering pensions, and it's because, like you're saying, the nature of work itself is shifting. I mean, the reason we elected Donald Trump is because people want to bring back jobs that are never coming back.
Okay, let's not get onto the Trump issue just then. This is a completely secular, non-religious and non-political discussion, but it's a great
I think
point,
I want to add something to that. I feel like our generation is willing to put our lives on the line. Like before, when I talked to my parents, they had to provide for us. They couldn't really pursue their dreams. And what they taught us is you go and get those dreams, because what we realized is that it doesn't matter how much money we have in the bank, and it doesn't matter how stable we are. What really matters to us as human beings is actually bringing our humans forward, not backward.
But has that changed? Because surely anyone who chooses to be a parent chooses to sacrifice some of their own goals in pursuit of bringing up children.
Right, and I feel like that's the kind of parenthood we got. Like my parents actually wanted me to believe that I could do whatever I wanted to do if I wanted to. Absolutely. But you have to be able to put your life on the line and take risks. So that, I feel like our generation is willing to do that. We're not looking to make money, we're looking to have an impact. And by impact I mean, are we bringing ourselves forward or not? Or what's going on? Like lately, not
millennials are more willing to take risks.
Well,
Moved on. Jen was next.
Yeah, maybe picking up what Hannah was going to say is I think there are a lot of things that are universal that haven't changed, but I think that there are other trends that impact this one about work. So speaking very specifically about, really pensions are only for, I think, military and government now, broadly speaking. And most of us are getting married and having children later, especially as women are getting more advanced degrees and wanting to put those to use. So I don't want to put him in a spot, but just take a poll. Is anyone here, raise your hand if you have children, biological children that live with you that you raise? Okay, and all different ages. I'm 32 now and don't as well. And so I think we're able, prior, my mom had 3 children by my age. And so I think when you're a parent, what I've heard from parenting is that your children come first, and it absolutely changes your life and the way you think about providing, because it's not just you who's being put on the line, but it's your family. And so I think when you have a family really young, you're looking for those kind of more stable elements in the work. And if you don't have to consider those as much, then I think it naturally shifts to wanting to really be excited and passionate about what you're doing. So I think it could be a factor.
Excited and passionate dog there. I think those are all great points. I really want to address the term entitled though, because I think it's the one that gets hackles up the most and probably gets people the most annoyed. Are you millennials entitled?
No way.
No more than any other generation.
No more than what do you mean by that?
So, if you
I'll
look,
come to you, Hannah.
so if you look at let's start with the greatest generation, post World War II. Everyone came home. Everyone felt like we accomplished something. So therefore, we are entitled to it. That's how we got the boom from the 50s and the 60s. How everyone, that's why when you talk to the older generation about how, especially not to be political, but how bringing back labor jobs to this country, where even though they'll never come back, it was that sense of entitlement that where I want this job, I'll do this job, and that's all I have to do.
But I think the sense of entitlement that Simon Sinek was specifically talking about is one that I don't actually have to do anything, things are just going to come my way. I don't have to work hard, everything's been made for me, I'm repeating someone else's. I'm going to go to Hannah next because I've silenced her a couple of times. And she's got hot coffee in her mug. Are you entitled, Hannah?
Yeah, I am entitled because I did work hard. But
so you worked hard until now and now you don't have to?
No, it means that I am entitled to be put in positions where I can continue to work hard towards a vision that I've outlined for myself. I think that's something that generations past.
That's an interesting point.
It was like people are now being trained to speak up in the workplace and raise your hand and say something because people didn't speak up, and it caused a lot of the massive. I have a lot of expletives that I want to use right now, but all what happened with the financial crisis, no one spoke up. The people who were making those really, really poor decisions didn't speak up at the lowest level where they were enacting those trades or enacting those or making those securitized bonds. They didn't speak up and say, this is wrong, we're creating really bad stuff here that's going to go out and affect the world in a terrible way. No one spoke up because they didn't feel entitled to. And I think entitlement is a good thing.
I think they weren't given permission, which is slightly different.
I think also one reason, if millennials feel entitled, one reason that we feel entitled is that we've paid so much for our college educations. And we're graduating and going out and finding we can't get jobs with those expensive degrees. And I think there's been a change both in the cost of education and in companies' willingness to hire graduates and then train them on the job, which I think is something that doesn't happen as much anymore. And there's just this huge disconnect between what we get in higher education and what the labor force needs.
And internships.
Yeah.
And part of the problem might be that everybody's expected to have a degree now. Everybody goes to university, to school, so there's such a big pool now. I think, did you have a point, Monica?
Oh, no.
Can the big giant head speak up? Loretta Donovan posted a comment asking Hannah, what does she mean by working hard?
What do I mean by working hard? I think that people, I actually mean working smart. People in the past have been very heads down, working towards a goal or a vision that isn't cohesive or they're not bought into. I think one thing that our generation really is excited to do is create a vision for ourselves and work consistently, passionately, and 24/7 towards that vision, and no longer, we don't want to compartmentalize, this is my work life and this is my personal life. It's, I want to work on something that I feel personally invested in, so I'm going to dedicate my life to it. And we're all looking for that, and I think
But we're
it's
talking
hard.
about people bouncing from job to job. That's not arguably dedicating your life.
But it's looking for something to dedicate your life to.
Ah, so you're searchers and seekers. You're not
Yes.
committed, which is what Simon
I
Sinek
think
was
once we
saying.
find something,
It might be committed, sorry, no, you say committed to the strategy, the ideal, but not the company,
Yes.
potentially.
Yeah, committed
But
to
then
a
it's
mission.
broader, a mission.
Broader.
Which is self-interested, isn't it?
no.
Well, it depends how it's aimed. Depends how
Personal
it's
mission?
aimed.
Is that not self-interested?
It's a personal mission that usually is, I mean, I'm speaking for myself now, but I think I'm speaking for a lot of people, a personal mission that's in service of the world, in service of communities.
Okay.
The greater good.
It's very
I haven't heard from Louise.
You can have dedication in a career if you stay in the same career for 10, 20, 30 years, even though you've worked for multiple companies. How can you say that you don't have a dedication for what you do?
Absolutely.
It's just that the reality is whether or not you hold a job isn't always completely in your hands. You can work your butt off, but if your industry goes into a recession,
So we're talking about a different loyalty. It's no longer a loyalty to a company, it's a loyalty to an ideal, to a purpose.
I think if we could become loyal to a company and be able to have those benefits, be able to, expect some kind of like a pension and whatnot, that could totally be, that I think that's something that everyone would either work to or would be fine to have with them. But as mentioned, if the companies don't show loyalty to their employees,
It's got to be a trade-off. You've got to get back what you give.
It's gotta be a two-way street.
Yeah.
And
Last,
especially for us.
just going to come to the last point here on entitlement, and then I want to move on to a different topic.
I wanted to get back onto the point of...
You've got all the questions in front of you. You've got all the notes. That's cheating.
Well,
That's
yes,
highlighted.
highlighted, because these are points I wanted to bring up.
So you worked hard,
Yeah,
and you
he's
dedicated
worked
yourself
hard.
to something.
Yeah.
Because I just didn't want to prattle on about, stuff. I wanted, like, these are points I want to focus on.
Okay.
So I want to bring back the point of education. So growing up, for me personally, I can't speak for everyone here, but growing up, there was a lot of influence by my parents to go to college, get an education, so on and so forth. But as my journey through my education career, from junior high to high school, and trying to decide what it is I wanted to be, there was no roadmap. We were kind of setting the president for.
You sound like Trump getting into the words.
Yes, the precedent
The precedented.
for this new education, because our parents' education when they went to college is completely different than what we experienced in college.
Absolutely.
Not just cost, but in terms of what they learned, what was available to them. And when we went to college, it was a whole new territory for everyone. There was new courses, new ways to study. Computer science didn't blow up until, like, it existed in the 60s and 70s, but it didn't really hit its heyday until the dot-com boom and bust. And once we set foot in this, we were kind of lost. Like, well, we have an idea of what we want to do. Then when we finally enter the workplace, well, it's like, okay, well, these are nice, but you have experience.
All kind of had experience because it wasn't there before.
And that's why you have to do
Yes.
4 or 5 unpaid internships. I keep pointing to Monica because you have a unique experience here as being an intern. And I can't speak to whether being paid or not, I don't know that. But
it's just very common where I had to be careful in my internship search of being taken advantage of.
Yeah.
I actually had to say no to a company just because it was very obvious, it's unpaid work. But this is a great opportunity where I actually get to learn, which is what I set out to do while being compensated. So that's very rare. I'm very lucky to find
I just want to add on to that because I had a job search which is documented on LinkedIn at the moment, and last year for 10 months, and a number of companies wanted me to work for free for them. They specifically wanted me to go.
that's entitled.
That's
That's
the company
being
feeling
entitled.
entitled.
Yeah.
And I felt
Because they
entitled to being paid for my work.
As you should.
But let's get away from entitlement. Let's segue into, we're talking about a different, I think you're talking about different geography of the workplace these days. I think your point was very much that the technical world has changed everything. Technology has changed everything. And indeed, technology was one of the 4 areas that Sinek focused on. So the question I want to ask you is how you feel technology, and particularly, and Simon wasn't saying technology is bad, he was saying, I thought, the overuse of technology is bad, the reliance upon it, the danger of it becoming addictive and us using it
And what's he
in
saying
different ways.
specifically social media?
He talked about social media, the use of phones, and our resorting to them in place of relationships with people, using them as coping mechanisms, using them to get pats on the back and pats on the head to make us feel better about ourselves, instead of engaging with the issue on a people basis, on a relationship basis.
Well, it was
So-
it was compared to like drug usage.
Yeah.
Because
Dopamine.
every time you get a shot of dopamine, and they compared it to like basically, if a young person is going through all these different stages of their life and they're like dealing with all these different like growth periods, and then they go towards it like as a coping mechanism.
Yeah.
So it's
Is
like,
that your
you have
experience?
to-
Do you do
well,
that?
I just really think that it's important, like, for the adults to teach the kids how to like monitor it.
So the
like,
Gen
how
Xers to teach the millennials.
Yeah, and that's where honestly I get a lot of
Is that
feedback.
patronising enough for anyone?
Well, I feel a lot of frustration, like when the older generations are always like yelling at us, like, oh, you're selfish, oh, you're this, like you don't know how to use technology. It's like, well, did you not like upbring us? Like, did you not, like, were you not the people who like took care of us when we were kids? Like, wasn't it your
But I feel,
responsibility to teach us?
I have to add something to
Yeah.
that, and I
Yeah.
think social media is an advantage for any generation. Like, I see my brother raising his kids. He literally gives his kids like an iPad to entertain them.
How
You
much-
know,
Well, it's
so
also
it is
good
a
for learning.
technology,
But
it's
how
good for
old is-
learning.
Is that a good thing?
It's wait, hold on. So it's a good thing, yes and no. I feel like everything in access is bad, but what I mean is like social media has brought us together. I know what my friend is up to. I love it. I like the things that she's doing, and she likes the things that I'm doing. And it's just simply a way of communicating that we care about each other.
It's sufficient.
And I'm sufficient. Like I see my family in Colombia, and I love the fact that they're having fun and they're doing things, and I'm able to connect to them.
There's absolutely
Believe
no
it or not.
doubt the benefits
but
to
I'm
it.
never I'm not 100% on Facebook. I have work to do. Like I'm not sure where he's getting this information from.
Do you take your phone? I've been at dinner tables with people on their phones.
Yeah.
That's where he gets his information from. I've seen
Yeah.
people walking around on their phones, crossing the street, not paying attention to cars.
Right.
Their
But
fault,
that's
though.
to access.
That's to access.
I think
Well,
everybody.
Yeah, like there are kinds of like people that will definitely be doing it way too much, and there are people that are not doing it way too much. It is
So
a
it's a
tool.
human issue, it's not a
human
generation
issue.
issue.
It's not a generation
And I would say to your point, Monica, actually, I would not take lessons from boomers or Gen Xers on how to use social media, because in my opinion, the whole fake news epidemic is people of that age not researching the information that's shared on social media sites
and looking for viewers.
and looking
I
for
think we
viewers.
need to be careful that we're
Eyes.
being just a little stereotypical here, and my point being, I don't think we should be casting aspersions on a generation when this is a
Exactly.
human
Isn't
issue.
that what the
Exactly.
And
But
but you're
that's
casting aspersions on other groups of people who said it's
I
their fault. I
agree
don't think it's a
with you.
It's always
generation
the
problem.
millennials.
I
that are
honestly
This
think
isn't an attack, this is a discussion. This is trying to work
if
out
I-
what's
But
if
the,
I
going
may
on.
the
add.
millennial
Yeah.
label itself.
I'll come back to you.
Okay.
Big Giant Head would like to interrupt and ask people to speak up a little bit more because
Okay.
we're having problems with the audio.
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
So if I want to play, one part I want. Okay. So one part I want to say that yes, social media is good. I can keep up with family members that I don't get to see because they're on the other side of the country, other part of the world. You know, for example, my cousin moved in with their girlfriend, and they're now stationed in Japan right now, and I never get to see them that often. But it's nice to see what they're up to.
I completely agree.
But to play devil's advocate, oversaturation of media occurs because there's no filter. So let's say someone has a crazy idea, crazy thought, crazy notion, or unconventional, not crazy, but something unconventional. Under normal social norms, without social media, that would probably hit a few roadblocks. You tell a person and the other person would just look at you weird and just kind of back away. It would dispel that kind of notion. Now, you can kind of shout into the ether. Someone else will come along and say, yes, I agree with that thought. And then it kind of builds up. And we don't have a filter for that. We don't have a way to kind of...
I don't think there's a debate upon the fact that social
Yeah.
media is a useful tool.
Yeah.
Yes.
What I'm starting to hear is that, and it came in from Monica, is a lack of responsibility, personal
Yes.
responsibility in the usage of it,
Right.
and that's
For
cross-generation.
everybody,
Yes.
not just
Yeah.
That's
Yes.
cross-generational.
And I think also the
Well,
downside
Louise
is more
was
visible.
next. I'm
Yeah.
sorry,
Yes.
she did try to go. Liv.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. Is that it's not something that's generational. Like my mom spends a lot of time on Facebook.
Could you speak up?
It's not a generational thing. Like I know like my mom, she spends a lot of time on Facebook. She has like thousands of friends from when she was in high school and college and her job, and the amount of like
She
photos
watching right
that she
now?
has.
She watching right now?
No, I don't know. I don't know. But the point is like she's not a millennial, and yet she posts a lot of photos, and and that's her main way of interacting.
So she's embraced the technology.
She has. She still has like she'll ask me about how to take care of how to do this or that on Facebook, but like it's not a generational. It's not our generation thing.
No.
Anyone, like what's his name?
Simon Sinek.
He was talking about it as like
A millennial thing.
It's a millennial thing, but also as like comparing it to an addiction. Addiction doesn't happen when you're 20 years old and suddenly magically goes away when you cross 35.
No, true.
You can get addicted to anything at any age.
And they fear the printing press.
So now I'm
That
hearing it
was
might
the
be an
way.
age thing rather than a generational thing.
No, it's not. It's the new iteration of how we
any
process
generation, any age.
of how we process information and communicate that information. And when Bart stopped telling stories and it became printed, that was feared. It was feared that our ability to tell, to narrate, to remember would be diminished from books and from written word. And every iteration of how we communicate is criticized in one form or another. But I think the benefits outweigh the drawbacks immensely.
I think you're probably right. Let's move on, unless anyone. Isaac, sorry, I jumped over you with Louise. Did you have a finishing point on this subject?
I think there are definitely benefits to social media, and I think the issues, they're more visible than the upside. So we see people on their phones at dinner. We see people, walking across the street and staring at their phones. What we don't see is like all the connections that happen because of social media. Like I found this job through social media. I was able to use an extended network that I probably wouldn't have been able to do otherwise. So
that's a great point to finish on. And have we got any more questions coming in from the thousands of people in the audience?
Well, Tim Davis wants to know, he loves the dogs in the shot, and he wants to know what the millennial take is on pets in the workplace.
Ooh.
She's excited.
Shannon hasn't spoken yet.
Yeah. So my dog makes me probably the happiest ever, and just having him next to me all day long makes me happy. I stay here longer. I'm not running home to, I gotta feed my dog, I gotta take him out. I am happy, and it makes me more productive and a better employee because of that.
She shushed me earlier and then blamed it on the dog.
I was pushing my dog.
Well, and to Jen's point, Jennifer, I don't know if you guys distinguish two Jens. To Jen Tebow's point, we're not having kids and families at the age right now is the age that our parents had
Already
us.
had kids.
And so dogs
are
are
babies.
babies and they're saving off that biological desire to have kids when we're not.
How many babies come into the workplace?
We had Mitch's.
We've had Mitch's. We who threw up on Keith's shirt.
Eric Pletcher.
Eric Pletcher's 2 babies, so that's 3. Annie's son, who's like 10, but 4.
Jim's son.
Jim's son, 5.
So one quick point, it also does help with work morale as well. Seeing a small dog, happy, playful, like it suddenly boosts your spirits. Like, oh, it's a cute dog, and then you're just walking along. Sometimes Mushu here will be given free rein, run around, sniff stuff, and then you're just working, and then you see him come in. It's like, oh, hey Mushu,
It's great,
and
yeah.
it makes it kind of brightens your day just a little bit.
People come by our desk to say hi, and just like they call them our therapy dogs, because it makes them happy and gives them an energy boost.
Well, the big giant head behind the camera thinks that Mushu is the word cute. What is it?
Personified.
Personified. Well,
Or
dogified.
doggified.
Well, this Generation X.
There's also
The
Simba, by
balance,
the way.
just I agree.
Kind of blends in.
Sort of. Okay, let's have a positive thing that Simon said. Well, not necessarily a positive, but something that he wasn't blaming on the millennials, if indeed that's what he was doing. If you're listening, watching, or you get to listen or watch, I didn't mean to say that. I'm sure I was misquoting. He mentioned that not all the responsibility for a perceived slow integration into the workplace is because of the millennials. It was actually putting the responsibility onto the corporates and an inability to develop talent, an unwillingness to develop talent, a focus on numbers as opposed to on people. Is that your experience? And if so, or if not, How do we develop it? How do those people in leadership? Is this actually a leadership question rather than a generational question, Jen?
I think that I guess the old mindset for companies was we need to keep our employees in our companies for more than 2, 3, 4 years, obviously, so there's no loss in the process of teaching people what to do and what not to do and like what the company is all about. For us, not millennials, but for our generation, I feel like leadership, it is important. I agree with him in the point that there's gotta be a purpose when there's a project. Like something as simple as a project. Like we leaders have to bring everyone together and actually say what the purpose of the project is. Involving everybody in a conversation such as simple as that makes a lot of difference. A big difference, I mean, because
understanding why we're doing something, which is
why we're doing
Simon's book. Where did I put this here?
Yeah, right.
Start with why. So
I mean, it makes a lot
maybe
of
he's
sense
not
for
all
me
bad.
personally because
I liked him before this.
there's so many things that I could be doing with my time, right? I don't want to feel entitled and I don't want to sound arrogant, but I do know that everything I do needs to have some sort of value to me because I get the fact that I can work somewhere else because we're at this point where we have opportunities. There's nothing wrong with that. There are many opportunities for everybody. So I feel like Simon relating it to our generationally is not really what I'm saying.
I mean, I, for example, need a sense of purpose in everything that I do. I'm a former military officer, for goodness sake, and it was hugely about duty and feeling good and helping other people. So this is not a generational issue. This is a human issue.
I think it's the first time that we're able to assert that desire and want vocally and in the workplace.
Yeah.
And why is that? Is that because of technology? Is that because of mindset changes? And why are we different to the baby boomers?
I think we're evolving.
I think it's a
Things
combination.
are changing.
It's a combination of social change, technology change, learning from the past mistakes, seeing what, because like there's always the trope, you know, especially from like the old sitcoms from the heyday, is like the soul crushing job. You're going there to work, but it's, you know, you feel dead inside. You're not accomplished. You know, like that's how, you know, the dad in the sitcom like ends up going on these wacky hijinks because he's searching for something. And my grandparents, my parents, especially my dad is he did a lot of auto body growing up because that's what he was good at, but he also hated it. He, you know, ultimately he decided, you know what, I want to learn something. I want to improve myself. I just don't want to be the mechanic. So he, you know, took courses. He became an electrician. So he specializes in air conditioning, refrigerating, air conditioning repairing, and he enjoys it. Like he likes that he gets to drive around, you know, the city more, rather than just being under the hood of a car, taking around. So. Jen.
I think a lot of it comes back to education, actually, and the number of people that are going to college, especially women, and then undergrad degrees as well as advanced degrees. So there's a certain amount of something happens when that happens. So I remember coming back from college, and the types of conversation. There was a big transition in my development and my relationship with my parents. So if you think of it as a parent-child relationship and in the workplace as well, right, where your boss or your company is sort of like the parent, right? Do as I say. Here are the boundaries. Here are the guidelines. There's you know, you come in at 8, you leave at 4. That's historically sort of how it's been. But when I remember when I myself went to college and coming back, you feel like you have this transition to an adult. You're taught how to speak up and to debate. And there's a lot more that happens, and you're really, I think, groomed to have a voice and to ask for what you want. And then coming into the workforce, especially women, right? You know, ask for the raise and how to have these conversations, advocate for yourself. So now I think I think a lot of things have been universal, but what's changed is you have a higher population of folks who have been prepped and educated to kind of have those conversations. And so now you enter the workforce though, and it feels like this power struggle, right?
And I think because we're you know, settling down and having children later, during that time when we're, you know, rootless, whatever you want to call it, we can be more demanding with what we want in our work. The cost if we decide to leave our job is not as devastating.
Well, I think Eric touched on something too that was, you said tropes that we see in comedy. I think there's so much more media and reflections of life and self and reality that are available to us than there were in past. So there are tropes about everything. There's way more cliches that exist, and we have the the ability to.
Someone tell me what a trope is.
It's a commonly used mechanism in storytelling. So the trope in sitcoms where the overworked dad takes a day off and realizes his family's important.
So yeah, storytelling cliche.
Storytelling cliche. But it's just so readily accessible to us, and it's almost become ingrained as like a schema for how the world operates, that we're more able and willing. I think generations prior to us might have been feeling the same things, but didn't have the media portrayals or the reflections as
the access to information as well.
Yeah.
The
Exactly.
internet provides.
Exactly.
No,
And so
and the amount of people out there saying it's okay.
and
it's
support
okay.
groups and everything that's like, there's,
interesting point.
oh, you know what, this whole culture is feeling this way, well then as a group we need to say something.
Okay, before we move on, and I don't actually want to move on.
We're getting close to our end,
Are we?
but we did get a question from Antonio D. Spears that says, how do millennials define corporate culture? What is the perfect environment to bring out the highest, truest potential of the employees?
That's a good question.
It's a big question for
Yeah.
like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people.
Well,
I think I can
put
add.
the collective cross-generational brain to it.
Yeah, I think purpose and collaboration.
Yeah,
Very
that's
important.
Can we all say one word? Go around?
Yeah, collaboration.
Can we just repeat the question quickly?
Sure. It was, somebody just asked.
We got another question?
How do
We gotta go
millennials
long.
define corporate culture?
How do we define corporate
Yeah.
culture?
And then what is the perfect environment to bring out the truest potential of the employees? I think that one's
And that
individual.
one, yeah.
Truest potential. So you said collaborative?
Collaborative. Yeah. Yeah.
But also what works for developers may not necessarily work for marketing. So,
But if we
but I do think the first half, how do you define corporate culture?
It's how you treat people around you.
Yes.
You treat them as human beings who have worries and concerns and who are trying to work, who you're hopefully going, who you're hopefully trying to like reach a common goal towards, or are you treating them as a means to an end?
Yeah, that's great. Very
But the definition of culture is something along the lines of what we do and how
Yeah.
we do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's exactly right.
And
That's a
part-
good culture.
That's exactly.
If it's human focused.
That's one
Yeah.
thing he got right, was that, you know, he said something
Did
about
you just say Simon Sinek got something right?
I love to start with why. I love start with why. We
Yeah.
use it at
I
Forensic
know,
Greenlight.
I'm
That's
playing.
it's great. But he said something about they wanted chips and beanbag chairs, and we gave them that, and it
I
wasn't
was
enough.
like, no.
That's not what we. That's not,
Come on, you're going to get upset about that. He's playing with you.
right,
I
right.
know,
Well, that's the.
of course
He's
It's a
right.
perception.
That's not what we are
No.
seeking out in a
Yeah.
culture. We're seeking out, I think, exactly what Luis said, which is
Humanity.
regardless of status or
Yeah.
hierarchy,
Yeah.
you're seen as a whole person.
I mean,
And
if
what
they're
makes
chips,
you-
I
what
will
makes
take
you-
them. But the
Yeah,
chips will
I'll-
not.
I'm sorry, say that again.
If they're chips, I will take them gladly.
Yes.
That's great, but it's not going to make me.
No.
That in
No.
itself is not going to make
We
me.
want
a
to be
happy
treated
employee.
like people. We want
Yeah.
to be treated like individuals. We want
Yeah.
the diversity in our
Yeah.
groups
Like special
to be
snowflakes.
accepted and
If you
recognized.
can go and oh
How
my
precious
God,
are we?
you
So
can't stay at a
precious.
job because 1, you can work from home, 2, you get snacks, and 3, you get to bring your pet. I mean, that's not going to bring you fulfillment. Really, like it might be cool to say to your friends, but it's not going to bring you fulfillment.
Yeah, and those things are usually an outgrowth of a deeper philosophical agreement that these people matter to us, so let them bring their pets. Let's let them work from home. Let's give them chips. Give them cake.
No.
If you're being given chips and that's your how you set your value proposition, then I'm sorry, there's something wrong there. If you work at a place because they let you take a dog in, then
I think it's
Yeah,
no, it's got to be about the work, what the work achieves,
Yes.
and the outcome of the
Yes,
work,
exactly.
why you're doing it,
Exactly.
the purpose behind it. Are you helping others? Are you making the world a better place?
I think this generation is up to something very big, and it's hard for other people to really see that.
Do you think
Like
it's this
we're-
generation, or do you think it's the world as it is now? It's
I think it's
changing.
the
It's
The
It's
world
happening.
as it is now.
So it's not
Yes,
generational.
it's not generational.
So
I
we
think
need
there's
to take the
resistance
Up to
discussion.
and there's
something bigger.
yeah.
We're no longer interested in materialistic things. Like we thought that was fulfillment. I feel like by now we should know that that's not fulfillment. It's not going to bring us any happiness. So it isn't the amount of money you make. It is really, are we up to something big or not?
What are we achieving?
What are we achieving? And are we going to put ourselves on the line? Like, are we willing to take risks?
We're gonna
Are
build
we
that
willing-
wall.
And the other
Yes.
perhaps the
We
point,
climb that
just
wall.
quickly glossing over the political comment. Now I'm going to make another one. I think perhaps the march the other weekend was
Yeah,
a really
exactly.
interesting demonstration
Yes.
of cross-generational, cross-gender,
Yes.
across everything.
Yeah.
There were boys,
The
girls,
women in their
little
70s
people,
who were
big
at the
people,
march,
70-year-olds.
That was the most. They were the most fun.
And that
to-
was a march for equality.
Yeah.
Yes.
Full stop. In
We're
fact,
like,
in my
that's
mind.
it, we're
They
over this.
Yeah.
And I
We-
will
to stop.
We
say,
want to work together.
not to put down what we're doing here though, but one thing that does bother me a little bit about this conversation, besides having you, Nick, and Dina facilitate, actually, so the head
the
behind
left.
help this, is that it's the baby boomers talking about the millennials, and now we're talking about ourselves. It's got to be integrated.
Yeah.
We're
In
waiting
work,
Simon
I
to come
think.
here and come talk to us, Simon Sinek.
So,
Well, no, we need a debate with everyone involved so
Yeah.
we can find a collaborative
Yes.
way forward to work together, live together,
Right.
and make the world a better place.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's one of the, I think purely, I feel it's a communication boundary. And I think this has
I
happened
think you're
between generations forever, and it's
We can change the
translating.
language.
And yes, coming into making sure, I think missions are aligned, we all want the same thing, but what's acceptable, what's not, and how we approach it just gets miscommunicated. So a lot of the work that we do here at UI at least is working with employees to empower them to how to have those conversations in a culturally appropriate way, as well as managers to understand how to harness the full potential of people. Because you have to care about the
That's what we
bottom
do
line.
at Ferrazzi Greenlight and UI Corporation.
And on that note, I suspect, how long do we have time left? Or we're going?
1:36.
I'd just like to thank every member of the panel, the group, whatever we're calling it.
Thanks for
Wouldn't
having
want
us.
to be too formal. No bean bags, I hope you noticed. No free chips. Thank you to those of you who joined us for this, and please keep an eye out for another Ferrazzi Greenlight YOI debate / Facebook Live event in the near future. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
Bye.